progress.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Amanda Nichols. I'm the Communications Director here at Our Revolution, and I'm so glad to welcome you to our live 2026 kickoff call tonight. We made history last week with Zoran Mamdani beating the GOP and the establishment to become the next mayor of New York City, and we're going to keep that momentum going. We've got an amazing lineup of powerhouse candidates running to take back power in 2026. So we'll hear from Graham Plattner, an oysterman and former Marine running to unseat Republican U.S. Senator Susan Collins in Maine. We've got four progressive leaders running to grow our power in the U.S. House. That's Sacramento City Council member Mai Vang, running in California's 7th District. We've got Robert Peters, a state senator, taking on the establishment in Illinois' 2nd. We've got Randy Bryce, an iron worker and union activist, taking on a Republican incumbent in Wisconsin's 1st District. And we'll have Cori Bush, longtime friend of Our Revolution and progressive champion who's fighting to win back her seat in Missouri's 1st. It's going to be an amazing call, and we're so excited to organize with all of you and bring home some more victories. So let me check and see who's joining us in the chat. If you haven't yet, please say hello to the Our Revolution community by introducing yourself, tell us your name, where you're from, and why you're tuning in tonight. So who am I seeing? I got Latanya in Houston. She's one of our phone bankers. Good to see Latanya. We've got Meredith in Colorado. Judy checking in from Austin, Texas. We got Karen from Big Bear Lake in California. Oh my gosh, it's going so fast. Julian from Long Beach. We've got Jerry in Washington, Rachel in DC. We've got Patrick from San Francisco, Donna in Canton, Ohio. We've got folks tuning in coast to coast. Love to see you all plugging in with us tonight. So once again, my name is Amanda Nichols, and I'm the Communications Director here at Our Revolution. I'm so glad that you're all here and that we can kick off the 2026 elections together. We're going to dig in tonight on how we can organize to keep the momentum from last week's big wins with Prop 50 in California, Zoran Mamdani for New York City mayor, and other big races. How do we channel that energy straight into the 2026 elections? So we know what we're up against: MAGA, big money, so much more. But we have shown that the energy is really with our movement, and we don't have a moment to waste as we head into the midterms. So that's why we're getting started right now. And we're going to be bringing together 5 inspiring candidates on the call to start organizing to win big tonight. So we've got Graham Plattner, an oysterman and former Marine running to unseat GOP Senator Susan Collins in Maine. We've got 4 progressive leaders running for U.S. Congress. That's Sacramento City Councilwoman Mai Vang in California's 7th District, Robert Peters, a state senator who's taking on the establishment in Wisconsin's 1st District, and Cori Bush, longtime friend to Our Revolution. She's one of our best progressive champions, and she's going to be fighting the big money to win back her seat in Missouri's 1st District. This is how we take back the House and Senate. This is how we win the power we need to stop the worst of the Trump regime, take on the oligarchs and corporate power, and actually deliver on policy that serves the many, not the money. So real quick, let me read a few more names of folks that are tuning in before we kick things off at 8:30. We've got Jimbo in SoCal. We've got John Middleton in Houston, Heidi Hall in Grass Valley, Mary in Brooklyn, Kate in San Diego. We've got JB out in Madison, Wisconsin. We got Margie in LA, Kyle in Auburn, California. We've got David in Bethesda, Maryland, Jane up in Vermont, Julietta in Westchester, Pennsylvania. I'm familiar. And David King from Portland, Oregon, Cynthia in Knightsdale, North Carolina. So many folks. Wow. It's really an honor to have you all with us tonight because this is a very important call. We are so glad that you're taking the time out of your Monday evening to join us and be part of this movement. Before we jump in, I want to drop a link for folks to plug in with Our Revolution Citizen Action Team. You can help us elect these great candidates and others that may be in your neck of the woods, and also take part in direct actions that we're organizing that target oligarchs directly, corporate power, and the like. So we've got a lot of things moving, and that link is in the chat right now. And with that, let me hand it over to our host for the evening, our Revolution Executive Director, Joseph Gavargis. Joseph.
Thank you, Amanda Nichols. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joseph Givargis. I'm the Executive Director of Our Revolution, and I want to welcome each and every one of you, whether you're here in the Zoom room or watching online. Welcome to our 2026 Kickoff Call. Last week, we celebrated momentous wins with Zoran in New York and Prop 50 in California. And we are ready to take this momentum straight into the midterms. Tonight, we've got a powerhouse lineup of candidates who are running to fight Donald Trump and the oligarchs in 2026. We've got Graham Plattner, an oysterman and former U.S. Marine who's running to unseat GOP Senator Susan Collins in Maine. We've got Mai Vang, a Sacramento city councilor who is running for Congress in California 7. We've got Robert Peters, a state senator who's running for Congress in Illinois 2nd District. We've got Randy Bryce, an iron worker and union activist who's working to unseat a Republican incumbent in Wisconsin's 1st District. And last but not least, we've got our sister, Cori Bush, who's running to win back her seat in Missouri's 1st Congressional District. Brothers and sisters, these are candidates who will be fearless in the fight against Trump and the oligarchs. And our mission in this moment is to help them organize to win. Let's not forget, just earlier this year, Zoran was polling at about 1%. But last week, he scored a decisive victory over both the Democratic establishment and the radical right because our movement had his back. Our revolution organizers and volunteers in New York and around the country made over 500,000 voter contacts. That's door knocks, that's phone calls, that's text. And it made a difference. Brothers and sisters, this is the model that is going to win in the age of Donald Trump. But leave it to the Democrats to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Instead of building on Mandami's momentum, Senate Democrats caved to Donald Trump when the American people wanted them to hold strong. While the shutdown is likely to end, so too will health care for over 20 million Americans. Let me bring that home. At the very moment when our movement proved that fighting to raise the standard of living is a winning message that energizes voters across the entire spectrum, Democrats in DC chose not to listen. Instead of fight, 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 it was surrender, surrender, surrender. And look, we saw this coming. Our revolution did a post-election survey of over 3,500 supporters. And 70% of you said that you feared that Democrats would take the wrong lessons from the elections last week. And you know what? They did. And it's no surprise that only 6% of Democrats, 6% of our revolution supporters feel confident that Democrats understand the struggles of the working class. And nearly everyone that we surveyed agreed our party, the Democratic Party, must be a party that takes on the oligarchs, makes life affordable, and makes our government work for all people, not just the donor class. The bottom line is this: the grassroots, we the people, want a real opposition party, and that's not what we got right now. And that's why over 90% of our revolution members said that Chuck Schumer should step aside. And after last night, that number's probably even bigger. Brothers and sisters, that's why Bernie started our revolution in 2016. It was to organize everyday people to take on big money and corporate power that's corrupting the soul of the Democratic Party. In the decades since our founding, Bernie's inspired a new generation of candidates from AOC to Zoran and built an army of volunteers and activists to get out the vote from City Hall to the US Congress. And we're not just organizing around elections. We're also taking the fight directly to the oligarchs, directly to Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, who are poisoning our political system and engaging in serious pay to play schemes. Together, brothers and sisters, we've shown the world the power of our movement and our demand for a new type of politics. And so, as we head into 2026, this is our time to hold Democrats accountable. And that's why I'm proud to announce that our revolution is going to be running the biggest Democratic primary program that we've ever run. Because let's be clear, it is time to take out the old guard and replace them with fighters who will take on the oligarchs and stand up for regular, everyday people. Our program is going to be twofold. We're going to focus on defunding the oligarchs. We have to make sure that people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are not allowed to amass huge fortunes that drowned out the voices of regular people. That means we've got to cut off the federal contracts, loans, and grants that go to Amazon, that go to SpaceX. We have to make sure we tax these companies, and we got to make sure we apply anti-monopoly law to break them up. We must do everything to defund the oligarchs, and we have to then fund the people and make sure that the programs that we care about, from housing to healthcare to education, are there to work for us. This is what Mandami ran on and won, and this is what our program is going to be in 2026 and beyond. Our goal is to elect a new generation of leaders who will save our democracy, who will fight alongside us and not betray us. With that, I want to invite each and every one of you to get involved in our movement. We can't do this without you. Sign up to be a part of our citizen action team. In that role, you can volunteer as part of our phone bank team to get out the vote for the amazing candidates we have on this call. You can also be a part of our issue fights as we take on Palantir, as we take on the oligarch companies that are running our nation into the ground. But we need your support to do that. If you sign up, our organizer will follow up with you. We have training and we provide support, but we need you to get involved. Again, join our citizen action team. The link is in the chat. And with that, brothers and sisters, I'm honored to bring up our first guest of the evening. Her name is Mai Vang. She is a member of the Sacramento City Council. That's where I first met her. And she is running for Congress in California's 7th District. Our revolution endorsed Mai when she was running for city council and running for re-election in city council. And we are now proud to endorse her as she makes a bid for Congress. Mai, welcome to our Organize to Win call.
Thank you, Joseph. Can y'all hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yep,
Y'all
we can hear
me?
you perfectly, sister. So, first
Awesome.
question: you are taking on a Democratic incumbent, someone who has been in office for decades. What are you hearing on the ground from people about the state of the Democratic Party, and what kind of leadership are the constituents, the members, the people in your district, what are they looking for in this moment?
In this moment, we need leaders who understand the day-to-day struggles of our working families. And that means we got to elect folks who actually go shopping and get their groceries, know what it means to be part of the working families, right? And so I've been on the campaign trail, and I'm just really, really excited to be fighting for this region, a community that I love deeply. And so that's what we're hearing right now is that we need leaders who can meet this moment, who understands the day-to-day struggle. And that's why I've stepped in the ring to take this fight to DC. And that's incredibly, really important for me. I also just want to say really quickly, Joseph, like, I'm just so honored to be here today as one of our Revolution endorsed candidates among like a slate of fighters across our country. And I also just want to say I'm fangirling as well because Cori Bush is on. So I just sent her a direct message. I just want to say thank you to her for blazing trails and that, I know that it was a tough fight last time. And I'm so grateful to see her back in the ring running again. And so I'm so inspired as well. And I'm just really honored to be with all of y'all today. And I just want to say that our revolution in particular is really meaningful for me because I was the only elected in my region to earn the support of Senator Bernie Sanders endorsement back in 2020. And so it's like a homecoming for me. So it's just really, really great. And then I just want to share, for the folks that I'm meeting for the first time, because there's several hundreds of y'all on here, I am a candidate, as you heard from Joseph, a candidate running for California 7th Congressional District in the state capital of California, from El Dorado to Sacramento to Elk Grove, Gulf, and Lodi. I am the proud daughter of Hmong refugees. I'm the oldest of 16 children and the proud wife of a son of Mexican immigrants. I was the first in my family to go to college. And then I returned home after grad school to take care of my family and the community that raised me. And so, when you don't come from money, you fight for everything you have. And I've been a fighter for this region for over 20 years. And I plan to bring that same fight to DC. So.
Imai, so tell us a little bit about your opponent and why you decided to step up and challenge an incumbent in this moment.
Well, just like I shared with you, Joseph, in this moment, it's so important we have leaders that understand the day-to-day struggles of our working family. I just don't talk about the issues of affordability and healthcare and immigration. I live it. The fight is deeply personal for me. It's personal for all of us. My husband and I, we both feel the impacts of rising costs. We know what it feels like to make tough decisions about what you spend your money on. I have friends and family that wake up every morning scared if they're not going to be able to see their loved ones because of ICE. And so the challenges facing our family is incredibly urgent. And that's why I'm in this fight. I mean, I'm taking on a dynasty that have served almost half a century, 5 decades. And she has never had a serious opponent. And like I shared with you, we need leaders who understand the day-to-day struggles of a working family. I'm also the only candidate that's corporate free. I'm not taking any money from APEC, not taking any corporate PAC money. And I know that this campaign in particular won't be easy because my opponent is part of the political establishment and she's received thousands of dollars from corporate PACs. She's also, one of the 10th richest member of Congress. Her and her husband, her billionaire husband, can self-finance their own campaign. So it will be an uphill battle. But last Tuesday's election was proof that we can win if we are fearless, if we have courage to step up to protect our communities and focus on the issue impacting working families. But last night's vote is precisely why so many people have also lost faith in the Democratic Party, why so many folks are actually leaving the party and re-registering or just tuning out altogether. And so, if you're as pissed as I am about the political establishment that let us down yesterday again, join this movement, join our revolution, support a candidate that's taken on the establishment. You can learn more about our campaign by going to myforus.com. Join the fight to change our politics right here at home and nationally. You can follow us. Our handles, our social media handles is My4Us. And I'm just so honored, so proud to be part of a collective movement to transform our country. I am just one voice added to the movement, and just so honored to be part of that. And so thank you so much for having me on. And yes, I'm honored to have the support of our revolution.
We are honored to have you as a candidate that's willing to stand up to the political establishment, willing to stand up not just to legacy politicians, but willing to stand up to corporate money. That's the type of leadership we have. One last question. Tell us a little bit about the work that you did when you were part of the Sacramento City Council.
Yeah, I came in during a really hard time during the height of the COVID pandemic, and I actually represented the zip code that had the highest cases of COVID in the region. I was proud to champion one of the largest community-led free vaccination clinic in our region. We had families from Elk Grove, Galt, Lodi making their way to our clinic in South Sacramento because oftentimes that was the only place that they could access healthcare. And I shared this story because in moments of crisis, our healthcare system is not set up to really love on and care for our communities. That we have patients from Kaiser and Sutter. They were coming to the vaccination clinic to get their patients were coming to the vaccination clinic to get their vaccines, right? Because our health industry is profit driven. So they were thinking about how much vaccine costs, and we were out here just trying to save lives. And so we ran that clinic, and I was so proud of that. As a city council member, I was also proud to lead the effort to establish our first ever Sacramento Children's Fund, securing $8 million annually. And those dollars are set aside to make sure we support our young people impacted by poverty, violence, and trauma. And as a fighter for South Sacramento, I've been able to secure over $40 million of investment just for South Sacramento. And I want to bring that same fight to Washington, D.C. I know that as a progressive on the city council, I'm after the 7-2 vote or the 8-1 vote. But something I just want to share is that even as a progressive, I've been able to deliver, been on the city council for 4 years, and I've been able to pass 3 citywide ballot measures. I'm 3 for 3. And so, yes, progressive can get things done locally, and we need that same fight at the national level.
Marvin, good to have you. Brothers and sisters listening, this is the type of leadership that we need to bring to Washington, D.C. And this is the type of leadership that our movement has been cultivating since 2016. You may not have heard of Mai Vang, but she's been in the trenches. She was elected to the city council, and now it's on us to send her to Congress so she can build on the program, on the policies that she's already started to lead on in her local community. Again, thank you for joining us, Mai. We're going to be talking quite a bit, I think, before the primaries hit in June.
Thanks, Joseph. Thanks for having me on. I'm just excited about the lineup. I know I'm the first one, but I'm excited about the lineup. So let's go.
Right on. Let's take it up. All right. So next up, Robert Peters. Robert has been on our Revolution Call, I believe, earlier this summer. We have endorsed him to serve the people of the great state of Illinois' 2nd Congressional District. Robert is currently a state senator. We endorsed him when he first ran, and now he wants to go to Congress. And his hashtag, his slogan is, don't let me butcher this, Robert, but it is bringing bold, progressive ideas to Washington. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think this campaign is really rooted in the idea of what does it mean to not only fight back against Trump, but fight for, a Democratic Party that gives people what they need, what they deserve, the dignity and safety that they deserve. So it's rooted in the idea of a vision and how we have to have a vision in this party right now. And yes, we need to fight back against Donald Trump, but we need to fight for what gives people health care, what gives people food on their table, what gives people housing, what gives people the life they deserve.
Well, Robert, it's good to have you back with us. And I want to ask you this, as you're out on the doors and talking with your constituents and people in your new soon-to-be district, what are you hearing in terms of people's opinion about the Democratic Party? How do they feel about the leadership that they're seeing in DC right now?
Well, I mean, I have a unique district where people are very proud to be Democrats, but are upset at the fact that what's going on in terms of Trump and fighting back against Trump. These are people, it's a working class Black district on the South Side and South suburbs, and they have a deep connection to the Democratic Party because of the civil rights movement. At the same time, they don't want people who are just going to say, okay, we need to defeat Trump. The district I represent is one of the most working class districts in the entire state. 40 to 50% of the population's on Medicaid, 40 to 50,000 people. We're about to lose SNAP benefits on top of the fact that during the government shutdown, way more people were losing their SNAP benefits. 40 to 50% of people's income goes to either rent or having to pay their mortgage or their property taxes. It's extremely working class, impacted by so many levels of disinvestment, environmental justice fights. And so what they want is to actually be able to thrive in every corner and every pocket of the district. It's also unique because there's 4,300 farmers. It's got a large rural community, communities that feel like they've been forgotten and left out. And so working class Black folks and working class rural communities who want to see a Democratic Party that is going to speak to their core needs. And, I think for me, the reason why I'm running, the reason why I care so much about this is, I was born in the 80s. I was born hard of hearing, and my biological mom was addicted to drugs and alcohol. And I was put up for adoption, and I was adopted by a civil rights lawyer for a dad and a social worker for a mom. But my mom was really a raging alcoholic. Like, she struggled with alcoholism. She struggled with mental health issues. And so I was raised by neighbors, neighbors who had their door open during a time of need. But over the last 30 to 40 years, we've seen people more and more isolated, people who are feeling pain, people who are hurting, people who feel like they've been forgotten, and they want to see people who are going to fight for them. They want to see people who have a vision about what this world should be for them. We live in the richest, most powerful country in the history of the world. We have nuke bombs on every corner. And if the United States wanted to, it could destroy the planet. Instead, we should use those resources and energy to give people healthcare, give people Medicare for all, give people the ability to have food on their table and the infrastructure so they have a grocery store. Not just that they can afford food, but there's food nearby. Give people the roof over their head that they deserve. Give people the life they deserve. And at the same time, let's go after people like Elon Musk who are going to, are incentivized to get $1 trillion and end that so that the richest of the rich are paying their fair share. And at the same time, our working class communities get what they deserve. And so when I talk to people and I have that conversation with them, and I talk to them about, in the book of Proverbs, it says, without a vision, the people will perish. And I talk to them about having that vision. I hear people, they clap or they feel it in their heart. They want to have a vision. They want people who are driven by that. And what we need in this Democratic Party right now is people who are driven by a bold vision, who have the courage to get things done. And I'm going to go on a long rant. When you're born hard of hearing with a speech impediment, you can talk forever. But I'll just say this. As a state senator, I've been able to carry 120 pieces of legislation to get them get them passed. One of them, I made it so that Illinois is the first state in the entire country to end cash bail. So we're the first state to say you're not going to be locked up simply because you're poor. I've also worked to pass the Illinois Healthcare Protection Act, taking on the insurance companies to make sure we get rid of things like step therapy, which are sort of fail first treatment plans, and to make sure people get the treatment recommended by their doctor. Making sure that the Department of Insurance is doing rate reviews so insurance rates aren't through the roof. We're making it clear that someone knows that a doctor's in network because insurance companies were too lazy to get that fixed, and now they have to. As a state senator, my freshman year, we made it so that Illinois banned private detention centers. Now, when I passed that, I knew it was important. In central Illinois, they were trying to build a detention center in this disinvested central Illinois town. And I knew this was a big bill, but I didn't realize how big it will be. It was, and it was going to be until really this year when I've seen ICE raids in my district, where my chief of staff has gotten tear gassed on the southeast side of Chicago, and where I'm seeing neighbors abducted and sent over to a suburban detention center. So knowing that we did not build a 1,000-bed geo group private detention center is something that I feel in my own way, in my own part, I have deep pride of. We are in a moment where we need a party that's going to be bold and get things done. And so when we do defeat Donald Trump, which we are going to do, it is all of us here at our revolution and across the movement that are going to have to force people in Democratic leadership to have a plan that allows us to defeat Trumpism for the long term. And so that's why I'm running for Congress. That's why I do what I do. And I'm very grateful and honored to be here. And thank you so much for the support.
Brother, that's music to my ears. Defeat Trumpism for the long term. I think that is our goal as a movement. Because it is only by doing that can we live the lives that we're called to live. Can we get the blessings of the fruits of the earth? And so just want to underscore this. It is amazing some of the work that you laid out, right? Denying business to Geo Group. Earlier in the conversation, you talked about Elon Musk and Bezos. Do you, when you come into office, you're going to join the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which I think is important because although the current holder of your seat who's vacating, she may have been a member of the CPC, but wasn't an active one, at least in my experience. So we're going to have an active Pramila Jayapal, Greg Casar type progressive in this office. So tell us a little bit about what you would do to take on the structure of power that is now in place that's corrupting our entire political system.
Well, I'm proudly endorsed by Bernie Sanders, and I've endorsed by the Congressional Progressive Caucus, and it's a real honor to have their endorsement. And what I will just say is I come from a background of community organizing. I don't believe in governing based off of theory, but on practice. And so when I was a community organizer, I ran grassroots progressive candidates for office, and I chose to become a state senator to kind of prove my theory of change correct. And so I wanted to show that movement governing does work. It's why I was able to get those 120 plus bills done. Just actually last week in the state Senate, I was able to get a bill done that gave us a state mediator program so that labor has options outside of the federal government after Trump attacks our labor programs, our labor services, so that labor unions have an option and an opportunity to be able to go to a mediator that's state-based. And that happened because of having deep relationship with people who are organizing outside the Capitol. And so my fundamental belief is that I am the community organizer inside the dome, but I have to have deep relationships with community organizations outside the dome. The way power works, power is not as complex as people think it is. Organized people, organized money, organized narrative. And so I'm very clear that my job is to organize people that's in my chamber. I'm also clear as someone in elected office with a bully pulpit that I've got to organize narrative. I can't be afraid to communicate to the press and the public about the vision we have as organizers. And I know in terms of my politics that I've got to organize grassroots money. We've gotten over 21,000, 22,000 online contributions, the average contribution of under $20, because we need to organize a base of money that's separate from the corporate money that exists. And so to me, I see my job first and foremost as being the chief organizer in a particular area to build the base to create change. And let me just say the first rule of organizing is building relationships. And so I'm always going to be down to build relationships, even with people who never thought they would be progressive. Because once they get to know me, that even if 9 out of 10 times they don't vote with what I want to do, and what I need and my vision, maybe that one time it happens because they have the relationship with me. And so I will just use an example because I have the experience to be able to talk about this. For over a decade, we've been working to raise the age of juvenile incarceration. It's at 10 years old in Illinois. And for a decade, we've been trying to get it to 12, 13, and 14 years old, which sounds wild and crazy, but this is America, so 10-year-olds being locked up is not as unheard of as it should be. And for 10 years, 10 plus years, we've been working to get this done. And every time it came over to the Senate, it would die. And this year, not only was I able to get the bill passed, I got it passed with bipartisan support because I knew I had a relationship with two relatively moderate Republicans who cared about this issue and were also worried about their election in a general election, and I knew I could move them. And so I took a bill that literally Democrats killed for over a decade and was able to make it a bipartisan bill to get that done. And I take a lot of pride in that because I'm a progressive, very rooted in my values. I've gotten arrested twice for civil disobedience. I've been a Bernie delegate twice. But what I do know is that I'm a great organizer. I'm proud of being a good organizer, and I'm willing to sit down with people, get to know their why, and move them along a vision that says, how can we make lives for Americans better? And that is something I'm very proud of, and I'm so ready to go to Congress and organize alongside a Pramila Jayapal or Greg Casar, a Delia Ramirez, a Maxwell Frost, and a Bernie Sanders and AOC. So I'm ready to do that because we need more organizers in the U.S. Capitol, and I'm ready.
That's right. Brother Peters, thank you for joining us tonight. We fully support the theory of inside, outside coordination and action. That's a key part of our theory of change. And we fundamentally exist as an organization because we want to build organized people, organized money around an organized program to win over the long term, because that's how we're going to defeat Trumpism at the end of the day. So thank you, brother. We're going to be in the trenches with you. Your elections are going to be coming up in March, right? So that's going to be one of the first races that's up. And so our job is clear, get you to our house.
Of course. Thank you so much. Thank you, Our Revolution, and let's kick some ass.
Let's kick some ass. All right. So next up, I want to introduce Iron Stash, the one and only Randy Bryce. He is an iron worker, a union activist, and he is running for Congress in Wisconsin's 1st Congressional District. He is going up against a Republican. Brother Bryce, welcome to our Organized to Win broadcast.
Thanks, brother. It's great to see you again. How you been?
I've been good. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a while.
You got a little gray hair there going, man. I know. I'm not going to throw stones.
At least I have hair, right?
Yeah, there you go. So, Randy, tell us a little bit about the state of the race. This is a race that you ran before. You lost by, I forgot, maybe a dozen points or so?
Right around there, yes.
Yeah, last time. And so tell us about what's different this time. What are you hearing on the doors as you talk to constituents? And how are people feeling about Donald Trump and their Republican Congress members?
It's, well, this time I'm going up against Brian Style, who was, the first time I ran in 2018, it was against, originally against Paul Ryan.
Right.
We chased him into retirement. And then we had his driver, Brian Style, who's currently the member of Congress for the 1st District. And Paul Ryan, as we know, he, had the pushing the grandmas off the wheelchair, off the cliff in a wheelchair kind of guy. And Brian Styles actually worse because he voted to strip the health care from everybody. And to make all these cuts that are just before SNAP was cut off, the whole community is getting together, and there's nonstop on social media where you can donate food, where the food banks are, and that's a shame for people to feel embarrassed too, to need to go do that. It's a system that's broken that allows people, that has people needing to go to get food just so they can feed their families. That's no way to live. And again, it's after Trump got elected, which was the last time too I ran, and just seeing the community up, terrified of what's gonna take place. And it's Trump 2.0. And again, people are just terrified of what's going on. And this time the district has changed a little bit. They added, it's a lot more friendlier. Chief Justice Susan Crawford won the district for state Supreme Court. And it's a lot more winnable because they added a college to it. UW-Whitewater is now part of the district. And we're looking forward to move that needle and make sure that we repeal and replace Brian Style this time.
Repeal and replace. That's a good slogan. And Randy, tell me this. I mean, I want to say the last time we've been together a few times. I remember one time we did a press event. I think it was in Racine. We were talking about Donald Trump and his promise to deliver more jobs, better wages, his promise to stop jobs from going overseas. What's been your experience and the experience of your fellow union members in terms of jobs and job creation on Trump's watch?
Well, farmers are really losing out. And there's a big rural area in the 1st District. Farmers are obviously losing out with the soybeans that were cut, even though some is selling now, but it's nowhere near what it was. And meanwhile, we're bailing out Argentina. What, $40 billion? Here you go. And they're the ones selling soybeans to China to take our farmers' place. That's unacceptable. and we need to take back Congress, because that's the only way we can stop the bleeding right now. And it's just been horrible seeing what's going on, and the fear in the community. And we were told, Donald Trump said all the right things, but it was like, do you believe him or not? Because the first time he said he was going to do all kinds of good things for us, it never happened. Infrastructure week was every week. Being in the building trades, that was something we looked forward to. And again, he's not doing anything except for building this huge palace that none of us are ever going to be able to go into, and taking basically bribes from other companies and CEOs to build it.
And not to mention gutted the IRA, probably one of the biggest domestic building and infrastructure projects in our history. And you're right, he is putting that money in his pockets. There's out and out corruption that's happening among Donald Trump and the oligarchs, right? It's a pay to play system. That being said, as you talk to people on the ground, as you speak with voters, do they see the corruption and are they pissed off?
Actually, what they're seeing is the high prices right now and things that they can't afford. That's the number one thing. And that was, Donald Trump promised us he was going to do something, and Brian Style was just a puppet for Donald Trump. He'll do whatever he says. He's already been endorsed by him. Yeah, people are really upset, and it's you can't lie about the price of, a carton of eggs.
That's right.
You can't lie about this. This is something that people see every time they go to the store. Jobs, we used to be a manufacturing powerhouse as far as automobiles go. There was local 72 in Kenosha, 95 in Janesville, and more in Milwaukee. And the jobs are all gone. Even the buildings, the factories are torn down. Those are all good paying jobs, and people still remember that. And that's, people need to have the right to organize their jobs. Majority want to have a union. They deserve a union, because the prices our wages aren't going up anywhere near as what the cost of food or gas or anything is right now.
And so, Randy, let me ask you this: what is it that you think will put you over the finish line, and what can our revolution do to help support you and all of our members around the country to help you take back this seat from a MAGA Republican?
Well, to make people aware of what the cost of everything is, and what they can afford right now, basic items, and to also show them that they have a fighter in me. And I'm not gonna be wishy-washy about something. I don't take money from corporate PACs, from billionaires, from fossil fuels, from Wall Street. I'm sure there's some others that I'm missing too, but because I'm going to belong to the people. The people are the ones that are voting to get me into office, and I owe them, for that job, and they can fire me at any time, which is something I want to go in there, and I don't want to stay until until I can't walk, but I want to go there and I want to be a fighter. Well, there's still a lot of fight left in me, because I can't accept what's going on in our country right now, and people deserve better, not just in the 1st District, but all across the United States. We deserve better. And when we take back Congress, we're going to have better.
Randy Bryce, brother, thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to join our Organize to Win call. We're looking forward to getting out the vote in your election and taking back Republican seats from the MAGA movement. And I think working class districts and rural districts are where we've got a shot to do it with candidates like you.
Appreciate it, brother. Our website is randybryceforcongress.org. Great seeing you again. Great seeing you. I hope to run into you again soon, brother.
Of course. Of course.
Hi, Corey. I see she's getting on. I met her at a Bernie event. I was a national surrogate for Bernie Sanders, and I think it was Iowa when I saw her. Just amazing. I can't wait for her to get back into office too. So go kick some butt, Corey.
Thank you, Randy.
Talking to you, Joe.
All right. Hey, Randy, thank you for teeing up our next guest, Sister Corey Bush. Corey needs no introduction, but just to briefly, she is running to retake her seat in Congress in Missouri's first congressional district. And I just want to remind our audience, Corey, and then get your take. But you were one of the top targets of AIPAC. They spent maybe $8 to $9 million, if not more, to defeat you. And we are proud that you are back, and we're 110% behind you in this contest. So tell us a little bit about your plan to take on, because I assume AIPAC's going to come gunning for you, as well as the rest of the corporate establishment. So tell us a little bit about your plan to win in this race, and then how our revolution activists and supporters can help you over the finish line.
Well, thank you so much, Joseph, and thank you for inviting me to the call. And hello to all of my friends and family that are on the call today. With our revolution, we've been rocking together for a number of years. First of all, let me say that um, the Corey that you all remember from past elections, from my past time in Congress, I'm going to be an even better Corey. I'm going to be an even bigger Corey. I'm going to be an even more courageous Corey. I'm going to be a Corey that's ready to flip over even more tables, because what's happening to our communities right now, the devastation, the destruction that we are experiencing just in less than 1 year, the things that we've seen happen. Project 2025 being alive right now, when people said it won't happen, it can't happen, this is ludicrous, all of those things. No, it's happening, and we have to look at it and we have to say, what is my part to stop this? How can I resist? What is my place in this? And so for me, I'm looking at it like, look, you remember Cori Bush, you remember me from being the one that my very first year in Congress, I wasn't even there a year, and I camped out on the steps of the U.S. Capitol to get the extension for the eviction moratorium, because 11 million people were going to be at risk for evictions. And I knew I didn't have institutional power, but I knew I had people power. I know how to protest. I know how to pull together an action. And so we did that, and we were able to win that extension for the on the moratorium for another month, and it came after 4 nights and 5 days of being camped out. So I'm going to be an even better Corey now when I go back. That's what you can expect. The same Corey that stood with my dear sister Rashida Tlaib and other members of Squad and some of our other Squad adjacent colleagues. When we put forth that ceasefire now resolution, we knew that that AIPAC was going to come for us. But let me be clear, it wasn't just AIPAC. These were the oligarchs coming for us. Big real estate was pissed off because they were there all the way back for us. These were, the CEOs and former founders of big corporations came for us. And yes, you're right, Joseph. They made the decision that Jamal Bowman and I would be their top targets, and they put billions of dollars against us. I think along with AIPAC, along with big crypto and big real estate and some others, it came out to somewhere around between 15 and $18 million. My race was the second most expensive U.S. House race in history. And then ask me why they came for two black candidates. Why they came for two black members of Congress. But the thing is this: I'm coming back stronger and better. I know more. I got a little bit of rest. I'm wiser. I'm stronger. And I have you. I have our revolution. I have the people on this call, because we understand right now in Congress, we need a fighter. We need folks that won't cave. We need folks that won't see the promise and then decide that it's too hard. We need folks that know how to hold the line, that are like have proven leadership, that are battle tested, for lack of a better phrase. And so that's that's why I'm going back. The community is ready. My community asked me to run. They said, hey, look, we have buyer's remorse. We didn't understand AIPAC and the connection, because the one thing about it is those ads those millions of dollars worth of ads. None of them said anything about Israel, Palestine. None of them said anything about Gaza. They all said Corey is disloyal to Joe Biden. Well, that's not a factor right now. And so we're coming back for the people.
And Corey, let me ask you this. What do we need to do about this issue of big money, distorting information, manipulating voters? What is it that we should do as a party to stop the money pipeline?
Well, so first of all, we have to make sure that that the education is going out even in our community, so we understand trying to get Citizens United overturned and how big of a feat that is. We know that, but that's something that we can never stop working on. But also, um, folks in our communities oftentimes don't even know where, especially when we're talking about ads, where these ads are coming from. Is this, are these folks reputable? Like, should we be listening to this ad? Who is this pack? Who is this group? A lot of times we don't know. So, but what we need to do is go to our current legislators, and let them know we hold them accountable for taking the money. We hold them accountable. You say that you're a Democrat, but we can't, and you say that you're a Democrat and you're fighting. We always say, I'm fighting for the people. Sometimes y'all working, sometimes y'all not fighting, y'all just working. But when you say that you're fighting for the people and you're trying to bring down drug costs or all of this, or you're fighting for folks' health care, but then you're taking money from Big Pharma, then it's a hypocrisy there. So we need to be accountable to the people. We need to make sure that look, stop taking the corporate money. Stop taking the corporate. We know you've taken it before. You don't have to continue. Like, stop it. Stop taking the corporate money, Big Pharma, Big Oil, all of these folks, war profiteers. So we hold them accountable. And then also another way is, I look at how Zohran Mamdani won, and the difference that, public funds made in a race. We don't have that in my state, but how different that could, how much that could be the difference for so many races. But one big thing, though, again, goes back to the education. We got to put some more money into into education on the ground. So as people, we need folks that are just knocking the doors to teach people about this, or to get on to do TikToks and all of that about making sure we get this big money out of politics.
Corey, we lost you for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. You all, I was supposed to fly. Sorry. My whole situation right now, because of the government,
Victim of the shutdown.
for
Yeah.
the shutdown. Yeah, I would normally have been home, but we ended up driving. So we've been on the road since 10 o'clock this morning. So I'm so sorry I'm going in and out.
No worries. Thank you, sister. I was going to say one of the programs that our revolution and our allies are going to be working on. One is, we understand now that big money has been corrupting our politics. We know that we need Citizens United. We've got to work at a structural level, but we're also working at the Democratic Party level. Our board chair, Larry Cohen, Jane Cleave, who's vice chair of the DNC, recently were critical in moving a resolution to get dark money spending out of the 2028 presidential cycle. Now, there's a lot of work to make that real, but that could be a game changer, right?
Yes.
For progressives, right? Because we're usually outmatched, but the party itself has an ability to be a gatekeeper and to say, you know what, we're not going to allow candidates who are funded by big money weigh in. We're not going to allow these independent expenditures to happen. And so that's happening at the national level, at the federal level, going to 2028. Is that something that you think should be applied at the congressional level in 2026?
It should be applied at the congressional level. It should be applied at, even, and this is something that's happening in our local community. We have local, even ward organizations who are putting forth resolutions, and are putting forth their own rules to say, if a candidate takes
Yep.
money from X, you can't get endorsed by us in our ward. So it's all the way down to the local level, to the municipal level. So we can do it on the municipal level, we can do it on the state level, but we also have to do it on the federal level, because it's not just the big money that's keeping out great candidates from these seats. It's also the big money that influences, even good people from making good votes,
That's right.
from voting the way that they really want to, from or standing with their communities. They're voting based upon the donor, or they're voting in a way just saying like, oh, I don't want to be Cori Bushed. I don't want that to happen to me. I'm going to vote this way so that there's no serious primary challenge against me. And that's not a way to govern. That's not a way to, to prioritize your district.
That's right. So, Corey, thank you for taking the time out of your road trip and squeezing this in, because I know it's been a little bit hectic for your schedule. But thank you for being here. I want to just again underscore, in order to beat the oligarchs, we have to get oligarch money out of the primaries at every level. And we're committed to fighting to get big, dark money out of the presidential races. And it's great to hear that we're starting in St. Louis with ward organizations who understand the corruption, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that Wesley Bell does not have other people's money to spend, right,
That's right.
in this race.
That's right.
And that's part of the way that we win. We've got to, in order to defeat the oligarchs, part of the thing is we got to get the oligarch money out. And so this is a program that we're going to be moving around the country, and we hope that it's something we can get to stick in St. Louis and will help you get over the finish line. So, sister, thank you again for being here, and we're going to be with you in the fight all the way to the end.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Give it up for Cori Bush. And last but not least, I want to bring up Graham Plattner. Bernie has endorsed Graham. Bernie rallied with Graham in Maine. He is running for the U.S. Senate to take out Republican Susan Collins from the great state of Maine. And we're honored to have you with us, Graham. Tell us a little bit about your race. And I'm also curious, you were one of the first candidates that I saw come out today and say that Schumer should step down. Tell me a little bit about how Mainers are feeling about Democratic leadership in this moment, and how you're speaking to what they need.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Also, I just got to say, it is hard to follow Cori Bush.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do my best here. But she is a legend, and it's honestly, it's a real honor to be on this. I mean, I think there is a deep, deep frustration amongst the people of Maine right now. And honestly, from what I can tell, it's everywhere. It's not just the people of Maine. The Democratic Party at the leadership level has really just become entirely feckless. There is an inability to recognize what power is, an inability to wield power, an inability to even, frankly, have a theory of power. And I think people are fed up with this. And today, I mean, what happened last night is a failure of leadership in the most clear terms. Senator Schumer is the minority leader. It is his job to make sure that his caucus is voting along the lines that are going to be good for the Democratic Party and good for the people of the United States. He could not maintain that. And I mean, look, we could go back over the past couple of years and come up with every single piece of evidence that Chuck Schumer does not rise to the occasion. But last night, I think, is just one more very stark piece of evidence to show that he is just completely unable to rise to this moment in American history. And today I held a press conference in Brewer, Maine, and 200 people showed up because they are all angry about the exact same thing. They're angry that the Democratic Party has ceased being capable of fighting back. And they want it to. I think this is the really important thing to remember. You know, as has been mentioned by a few of the previous speakers tonight, if the Democratic Party was made up of the people in it, it would be the party we want it to be. If it represented the feelings and the desires and the urges and the needs of the people who are the membership of the party, it would be the party of the working class. It would be the party of labor unions. It would be the party of fighting back, of building power, of creating big structural change again. It is the fact that it is just an element of leadership that is in control of the party at this moment in history that is failing to do any of those things. And we got to get rid of them. They have to go.
Throw the bums out.
We got to throw the bums out, but honestly, we need to rebuild the party from the ground up.
That's
I mean, I think this is what I've, you know, I think a lot of us on this call understand this. Nobody is coming to save us. There isn't going to be anyone coming down from on high to fix this for us. The only way that the Democratic Party returns to being the party that it's supposed to be is if those of us down here on the ground organize, build power, and take it back. That's it. There's no other way around this. And I mean, I think that is very much, you know, our revolution understands this. I mean, this is very much a organizing and building power, but it is a feeling that I feel that right now, everywhere I go, at least across the state of Maine, people are beginning to understand this on a fundamental level. They can really feel it. They might not have the language for it. They might not have like the kind of clear plan, but they are beginning to understand that there is something else that needs to be done. There's a different kind of politics now that needs to exist. Not a politics of allowing somebody else to make decisions for you, not a politics of putting all of your hopes and dreams in some kind of candidate. It needs to be a politics of power building, and that only begins at the community level via organizing. And that's the only way we're going to do this.
I think that's absolutely correct. And, you know, I want to harken back to what one of our other guests talked about with Book of Proverbs, where there's no vision, the people will perish. And it is a lack of leadership. It's a lack of just having guts to stand the ground, but it's also a failure to articulate a vision. What is a Democrat? What do they stand for? What are they fighting for? Right?
I've said for a few years, and I'm glad I get to say this now more publicly, or at least people have to listen. Republicans developed a theory of power.
Yeah.
Democrats have developed a theory of management. Democrats do not know what it is they are trying to build power for. It's become so vague. It's become so like intangible that there's this idea that we just have to win elections because we're Democrats and therefore that's going to be good. But then nobody can articulate what the good part is. Like you need to have a vision of what you are trying to do, and then you need to build a theory of power, which is going to get you there. That is it. And I think, you know, for us, we are talking about a universal healthcare system. We are talking about a large structural change to rebuild the infrastructure grid in this country. We are talking about rebuilding unions. We are talking about taxing the rich so we can get money back into the social programs that Americans rely on. At the end of the day, we're talking about a society that is built around providing good lives to everybody that lives inside of it. That is the goal. And what we need to do is build power to get that goal. But it seems that there are some in the Democratic Party, many in leadership, that have ceased having a goal. It's this whole idea that holding on to power is the only thing, but you actually wind up not having any power when that is what your goal is, because you're not trying to accomplish anything. You're just trying to keep your hands or you're like onto this little bit of personal power that you have. But that doesn't get you anywhere. And that certainly doesn't get the American people anywhere.
And Graham, I was going to say a theory of power. I think one is, yes, organizing. But then, you know, as someone who's been organizing for a couple of decades, and look, we haven't yet won Medicare for all, or, you know what, reformed labor law. monopolies, right? Corporate concentration. These companies keep coming together and stiffen us. I would argue part of our theory of power should be actually looking at the opposition, looking at the oligarchs, and saying, you know what, should SpaceX exist? Should we give our taxpayer contracts, loans, and grants to make somebody a trillionaire? Because that's the deal, right? That's what's happening behind closed doors. Jeff Bezos, right? He wants contracts for Amazon Web Services. He wants contracts for Blue Origin. I think part of our theory of change has to be taking these folks out because our founders, from Thomas Jefferson to James Madison, all recognized that concentrated capital was a threat to the republic and to the voices of citizens. So I wanted to get your reaction to that.
I 100%. Honestly, this is why I'm running for the United States Senate. I mean, I am in my theory of power, or the one that I subscribe to.
Yeah.
We need to build power on the ground through organization, without question. In fact, long term, I think it is the only answer. We also need to utilize existing structures of power for our goals. And I think it is in the United States Senate that we can find a lot of structural power as it currently exists to do exactly that. I mean, it's not that, I mean, it's let me rephrase. It's not that we fail to get this, but what a lot of people fail to understand is like, these large corporate entities that have all of this money, much of that money comes from the American Treasury.
That's right.
Much like this is not like these guys are out there selling the best, doohickey, and that's just why they get it. No, it's because they have figured out how to put pressure against certain elements of the United States government, and they get an immense amount of public money. I mean, Bernie Sanders has said it in the past. We have socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for the poor. It's true. Like that's what this is. These are public dollars that go into these companies, that go into these individuals and give them more, and that allows them to accrue more and more power, which allows them to accrue more and more wealth, and so on and so forth. It's a self-licking ice cream cone.
That's right.
And we need to break the cycle. And the way that we do that is by getting seats in the Senate and in the House and building power there, as well as building, I think long-term, the more important movement power. But for us to get there, we need to break these things up. And if I had my way, we would finally start enforcing monopoly laws that we already have on the books. We don't even have to come up with new ones. We just have to enforce them. But that's going to require a very significant change in the makeup of those we send up into the Senate and into the House. Because we're going to need people who look at this as though it is a tool for breaking the power of capital, quite frankly.
Right. And that's ultimately, I would argue, what our government is the role of government in our society, right? It is there to mediate between different factions and to make sure that no one faction, like the corporate class, gains total control over everything, which is where we're at today.
Where we are.
And so it's up to me, you, and the rest of this movement, the amazing candidates that were on this call, to break the power of the elites and the corporate class. So Graham, your election is coming up in August?
We have the primary is in June.
In June.
Yeah. And then once we win that, then it's off to November to finally send Susan Collins into retirement. And she needs it.
She does need it. And Graham, what's exciting about Maine is, we've endorsed Troy Jackson for governor. We've endorsed you for U.S. Senate. We have to look, and hopefully there's a progressive that's ready to step up and take Jared Golden's seat. We could run the tables in Maine, and wouldn't that be beautiful?
It would be a beautiful thing. I mean, I truly love the idea of an Our Revolution slate just taking everything.
That's right. That's right. I think this is our shot, now or never, brother.
Well, it's like I'll be entirely upfront. I am doing this because I feel like there is a unique moment in American history that is happening right now. And if we don't take this moment, I'm not sure we get it again. at least not for a long time. This is the frustration and the anger that is out there amongst the American people right now about the state of politics in this country is giving progressive, I would say, populism, working class populism, again, a real opening. And we need to take it. We need to be dumping as many of our resources into this moment as we possibly can. Because, it's, who knows where all this goes. But I will say, wherever it goes, what we do now is going to be the starting point of how either we take back our government or how we have to resist whatever is coming next. But either way, it has to start in the exact same place.
Brother Plattner, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join our Organize to Win call. And with that, I want to thank everyone who joined us in the Zoom room, as well as everyone who's tuning in on socials. I want to just encourage all of you to get involved in our citizen action team. We're going to be working to elect candidates like Graham, like Mai Vang, like Robert Peters in 2026. And as Graham just summed it up, this is a make it or break it moment for our republic. And what we do in the next year is going to determine the future of our children and our grandchildren. I know we like to say that at every election, but I think this time something is fundamentally different. And that's why I want to invite all of you to get involved with our revolution or other civic organizations, because we have to fight. And I would say what sets us apart is we got to fight for people like Graham Plattner. We got to fight for Cori Bush. We got to fight for people who have the right ideology and the right understanding of what ails the American Republic. And with that, I want to bring our Organize to Win call to an end. If you would unmute your mics, if you're with your family, let's close our call with our chants of hope. When we organize,
we win.
When we organize,
we
win.
When we organize,
we win.
brothers and sisters, good night, and we fight on.